A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has once again ignited international controversy after labeling several of America's long-standing European allies as weak and decaying. The remarks, reportedly made during a campaign rally and later reinforced in a televised interview, have triggered a wave of diplomatic unease across European capitals and rekindled questions about the future of transatlantic cooperation if Trump returns to the White House. Trump's criticism of Europe is not new. During his first term, 2017 to 2021, he frequently accused NATO members of failing to meet defense spending commitments and argued that the U.S. carried an unfair financial burden in defending the continent. However, his latest comments appear even more direct and inflammatory, referring to European nations as decaying powers that have lost their will to fight. Trump claimed that Western Europe's political and economic decline was self-inflicted due to what he described as bureaucratic socialism, open borders, and dependence on American protection. At a campaign event in Iowa, Trump declared, "Europe is falling apart. They are weak, they are decaying, and they expect the United States to save them every time." That's not leadership, that's dependency. The statement drew immediate attention from international media and leadership circles across the Atlantic. Analysts see it as another effort by Trump to define his foreign policy stance as nationalist and transactional, framing alliances as business deals rather than shared commitments. The reaction from Europe was swift and pointed. Top officials from the European Union and NATO expressed concern over Trump's rhetoric, warning that such remarks could damage trust at a time when unity between the US and Europe remains critical amid rising global instability. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen responded subtly but firmly, saying, "The transatlantic partnership has been the cornerstone of security and prosperity for decades. It is not weakness to stand together. It is wisdom." German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, whose government has been under domestic pressure to increase defense spending, called Trump's comments unhelpful and counterproductive. Scholz added, "Partnership is built on respect, not insults. Europe is evolving and adapting, not decaying." French President Emmanuel Macron, often outspoken in defending Europe's strategic independence, seized the opportunity to promote his long-held vision of European sovereignty. In a statement from the Élysée Palace, Macron emphasized that Europe must learn to rely on itself and prepare for any scenario where the transatlantic relationship is weakened. Within NATO, officials sought to play down the comments while reaffirming the alliance's unity. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg stated that the strength of the alliance lies in mutual commitments rather than rhetoric. "All allies contribute in different ways," Stoltenberg said, "and together, we are stronger and safer." That has never changed. Behind the scenes, however, several diplomats expressed frustration that Trump's words risk undermining morale at a time when NATO is trying to maintain cohesion in the face of Russian aggression and global uncertainty. One senior European diplomat, speaking anonymously, told Editorial News, "Every time Trump attacks NATO or calls Europe weak, it sends a signal to Moscow and Beijing that Western unity can be questioned. That is dangerous." Trump's remarks also revive memories of his administration's contentious approach to foreign relations. During his presidency, he repeatedly criticized NATO's Article 5, the principle that an attack on one member is an attack on all, and once reportedly considered withdrawing from the alliance altogether. If re-elected, many analysts expect Trump to pursue a foreign policy even more isolationist than before. His vision of America First 2.0 could entail reduced military commitments abroad, re-evaluated trade agreements, and a more unilateral approach to global crises. Dr. Fiona Hill, a former senior director for European affairs on the National Security Council, said in a television interview that Trump's new rhetoric goes beyond budget complaints. It's ideological. She added, "He seems to truly believe that the U.S. should disengage from Europe and Asia unless there is a very clear and immediate benefit for America." Tensions between Trump and European leaders have existed for years. From his skepticism of climate accords to his trade tariffs on European steel and aluminum, Trump consistently portrayed the European Union as both an economic competitor and a political burden. Throughout his presidency, he clashed with Angela Merkel over refugee policy, criticized NATO's eastern expansion cost-sharing, and openly supported Brexit, celebrating Britain's departure from the EU as a beautiful thing. In this sense, his recent remarks fit a pattern, using Europe as a rhetorical foil to strengthen his domestic political narrative. Within his campaign, positioning himself as the defender of American taxpayers against freeloading allies resonates strongly with segments of his base who question the value of foreign alliances. Trump's decaying label, while provocative, taps into real anxieties about Europe's economic performance. The European Union has struggled with slow growth, energy dependency, and demographic decline over the past decade. Economic slowdown. Europe's GDP growth has lagged behind that of the US and Asia-Pacific economies, driven by high energy prices, regulatory complexity, and weak productivity. Defense spending gaps. A number of NATO nations still fall short of the 2% of GDP defense target, though investment has increased since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Population decline. Several countries, including Italy and Germany, are facing shrinking workforces, raising concerns about long-term vitality. However, critics of Trump argue that his narrative ignores Europe's resilience and capacity for innovation. The EU remains the world's second-largest economic bloc, a leader in green energy and digital regulation, and a dominant player in global trade. Trump's remarks also arrive at a strategic turning point for Western defense. The war in Ukraine has reminded Europe of its dependence on U.S. military assets, but it has also catalyzed renewed efforts toward self-reliance. NATO's expansion to include Finland and Sweden underscores Europe's strategic awakening, while the EU's own defense initiatives, including the European Defense Fund and Permanent Structured Cooperation, PESCO, signal moves toward collective capability development. Still, the gulf between ambition and implementation remains wide. Despite new commitments, Europe's military readiness is uneven, and procurement inefficiencies persist. For this reason, European analysts fear that another Trump presidency could accelerate plans for autonomy, but also expose vulnerabilities before they are resolved. Geostrategic experts note that Trump's language may have ripple effects that extend beyond elections. Allies look for predictability, and Trump thrives on disruption, said Professor Karen Donfried of Harvard's Kennedy School. If European leaders start to doubt U.S. reliability, they will hedge, not necessarily with Russia or China, but through alternative partnerships and independent deterrent structures. Others suggest that Trump's confrontational messaging is intentional. According to conservative commentator Dana Loesch, Trump's point is not to destroy NATO. It's to make it stronger by forcing Europe to pay up. The problem is his language, not his objective. Public reaction within Europe has been mixed. In Germany and France, opinion polls revealed declining trust in American leadership when Trump dominates headlines. In Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states, however, public opinion remains more favorable to Trump's tough stance against NATO free riding, as long as it does not lead to U.S. withdrawal. An Ipsos survey conducted shortly after his comments found that 58% of Europeans view Trump as a destabilizing force, while only 21% believe his approach could reinvigorate transatlantic relations by demanding accountability. From Washington, the Biden administration moved quickly to reassure allies. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reiterated the U.S. commitment to NATO and described Europe as America's indispensable partner. He added, "Our alliances amplify American strength, they don't reduce it." A spokesperson for the Biden campaign criticized Trump's remarks as reckless and dangerous, arguing that insulting allies weakens America, emboldens adversaries, and undermines decades of U.S. leadership. Meanwhile, Republican lawmakers offered differing views. Senator Lindsey Graham downplayed the controversy, saying, "Trump's style is brash, but his message on burden sharing is valid." Others, including Senator Mitt Romney, criticized the comments as short-sighted and harmful to U.S. security interests. If Trump returns to office, NATO could face unprecedented internal strain. His potential administration might demand immediate financial reforms, new burden-sharing agreements, or conditional military support, all of which could test the alliance's fabric. European defense planners already discuss contingency scenarios. One senior EU official told the Financial Times, "We are preparing for the possibility that we'll need to defend Europe on European terms. We hope for partnership, but we must plan for..." That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.